Hi, my name is Ken Lassison. This is a quick video for somebody who went to the enzymes on the range page looking for probiotics and didn't find any. I want to explain why you didn't find any and what you can do. First of all, when the probiotics are ones that produce the enzymes which each person is low in, which means that if you are not having a low risk, then there's no probiotics to be suggested. In this case, all 57, if I double click this, you see that every single thing is high. So there's no probiotics suggested. Now comes the question, okay, how do you correct? Well, the best way is simply go over to count, and that will open you into a window showing what contributed to it. What you will see is that, okay, so this is the bacteria that contribute to the high count. Two of them are sort of normal, two are high, but notice that the high-low range is not abnormal by themselves. What probably has happened is that two of them both being high is what is abnormal, but each of them individually, it's still within the KM range, which means that if you want to do it, then you probably end up having to go and hand selecting them and then add them to the hand select list and work from there. Right here we have hand picked bacteria, and if you let's look at the earlier one, since this person has two, okay, enzymes outliers. And again, we click once, we click two, and this person again is nothing but high values. Enzyme levels are higher than is typically seen, which means again the only thing you can do is go over and do it. And let's suppose we do it by going for whatever is the highest count, which is right here. Again, you have the thing which are high. And we have something which is 92 percentiles, and that's the same one which is subsequent sample also had high. So this one is persistent high. If we want to find out what we have available for information about it, if anything, we have here, and we find that it's actually connected with one medical condition, which is interesting because it's, for me, it's a unfamiliar bacteria which I usually don't come across. It's only reported by Biome site, and about 25% of people have it, which is probably why, because long term has been new Biome 5, which don't report, which is why it's unusual to me. Okay, so that's it. Now I should mention one thing for clarity. There's a problem, which is that the ranges, etc., are currently, not intended to stay this way, but currently being done by looking at all of the samples, not just for biome sites, but all of them. Once a particular lab gets up to 1,000, I will put in the time and hours or days, as the case may be, to customize percentile so that they would be measured against what is reported from the lab. In this case, we don't have that many, so we are still using the aggregate of everybody's one, from uBiome, from Thrive, from Biome Site, which can cause false positives and false negatives. And I'm sorry for that, but it's the best I can do until we get more samples uploaded. And if you go down here and you can take a look at the upload statistics, and you will see for uBiome we have 860, for 5 462, for Biome Site 259. We could go and just use the 259 or the 462, but then we end up getting a lot more noise into the measurements. Taking everything together, you can get a bit of noise coming in for this and it's a damnation if you do and damnation if you don't scenario. You get noise either way, you false positive, false negative. I'm generally trying to run with the assumption that there's enough variation between each one of these labs that they would reasonably compensate for each other. So the results are suggestions of where the problem is, not necessarily absolute. However, if you are in the top 2%, then you may, in terms of bottom side, be in the top 10%, or more precise, if you actually go back to their bottom side, you see a 92 or 95 percentile. So those two are relatively high for the population, which means that the enzyme production from a sample from bottom side, which is where this is coming from, would probably be high even if I adjusted it only for the bottom side samples. So it's a bit messy, and all I can do is say I'm trying to do the best I have with the data available, and the more samples, the better the data becomes. So it's a matter of things adjusting over time and as volumes of data comes in. So basically the magic number is ideally 1,000 samples, and then I will go to the effort of splitting all the statistics into that individual lab and keep everybody else on aggregation, which will still include that individual lab. When individual labs get sufficient number of samples to have a reasonably stable curve and reasonably stable data, then I'll incorporate that. So it's sort of be patient. There are shortcomings, but it's the best which we can do with available data. Okay, I'll shut up now, and basically, if you are in the case here where everything is high or whatever, let's go back there, enzyme outliers, where everything is high, then all you can do is adjust by reducing the bacteria, and you do that by clicking there and seeing what things are high. And for example, in this particular case, what is contributing a lot is this particular kibasa, which you may want to, oops, sorry, no, that's the range. No, what is relatively high are those two. Again, that one is there, and this one is another one which I'm not familiar with, and again, it's only biome site that comes in. So we have 33% of 250, so we have had 80 samples with it, which means that trying to create a percentile curve for just 80 samples is going to get a lot of noise and probably be more inclined to false positives and false negatives. So apologize, it's not ideal. It's what we have for available data, and the data, remember, always will automatically self-adjust. As new data comes in, everything gets recalculated. So it's a matter of waiting to see if something persists or not. Okay, that's it.